Hey, Jay, I got a question for you.
What's that, Glenn?
You know our good buddy Mason Kramer, GlitchCat7 on Twitch?
Why, I sure do, Glenn. What a great guy.
How many world records does our good friend Mason Kramer, GlitchCat7, have?
70,000 at least.
Is it actually 70,000?
No, it's a lot, though. A lot more than we have,
What
Glenn.
are some of the most significant world records that GlitchCat7 has?
Deathless Run, point pressing on Super Mario World and Super Mario Brothers 3 of all games.
Is it true that anybody who's listening to this right now should go check out GlitchCat7 on Twitch so they can see some of this stuff for themselves? And also awesome, crazy, stupid, hard Super Mario Maker levels that Mason plays that his audience submits to him?
People should go check it out. Heck, I'm going to go check it out right now.
Yeah, and while you're at it, follow GlitchCat7 on Twitter as well.
Twitter.
Are you looking for the perfect evening? Do you long for the perfect companion to alleviate your stressful week? Well, one place has all the offerings that will make you want more and more every day, all the time. Whether you want something that's quirky and strange or something that's straightforward and full of deep, rich pleasure, Retro City Games has the goods to satisfy you. Located in the Las Vegas area, only 3 miles from the Strip, Retro City Games has a full complement of quality titles that scratches that itch you feel in the special places that tingle when you get excited. So visit Retro City Games. They'll assist you with all your guilty game pleasures and more. And baby, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Oh yeah.
Okay, so Jay, we're here. We're recording. It's a 2-man show this week. Rob is not here with us or via Skype tonight. But the ghost of Macaloo lives on because he sent me icebreakers to tease and torment you with.
We don't need that. We can just make our own up. I can see you have your phone there.
Yeah.
Okay, what is it?
Okay, you ready for this?
Yeah.
We've talked about you not liking new takes on old stuff and existing stuff. So this is phrased directly from Rob. Jay, you don't like reboots, you don't like different takes on the same story, but you're in a cover band. Thoughts?
I'm just paying tribute. I'm not trying to reinvent.
I'm trying to think of what Rob would say to that. Rob would say, but why do you need to pay tribute to Guns N' Roses when the original product is there and people can listen to it anytime they want?
Well, Invisible Rob, why do people pay tribute to anything? Kind of a silly question, isn't it? Because I want to. I don't know. Why not? To make some money?
Oh, so it's all about money. So
Isn't that why they rebooted Ghostbusters?
So what you're saying is if it's about money, it's okay.
I'm not saying nothing, Macaloo Prickridge.
Macridge. Welcome to another Gamer. Welcome to another GamerCast, everybody. This is not a voice you're accustomed to hearing say those words. This is your producer and editor, Glenn Stanway. We are without Zob tonight. Mr. McCallum is
Dead, he died.
No, he's in Atlanta, Georgia for work and had to leave at an inconvenient time for our recording schedule. So I hope Rob's happy that he's inconvenienced us. Also with me, as always, the video game rock star, Mr. Jay Bartlett.
I don't want to be that anymore.
No? You want to be something else?
I'll just be me. Hi, everyone.
Just you?
Yeah.
Yeah? You're what, like disavowing
No, well, I just want to be Jay Bartlett. I don't want to be like Stadium J or any of these other ridiculous names.
I don't think I've ever heard Stadium J before.
The NES guy. I don't want to be any of that.
I kind of like Stadium J.
No, I don't like that.
No. Bartlett event?
Bartlett event.
Not so much. What's going to be the weirdest part about doing the show without Rob for you? Is this feeling kind of weird for you right now, honestly? It's a little strange.
Well, my guard's not up nearly as much. So
You're not preparing to defend yourself every time I open my mouth?
How about you? You're not going to get cut off every 2 seconds.
It's
yeah.
possible too. But what? Seriously, what is going to be the weirdest part about Rob not being here? I want to know this first.
What I fight with each time we record is he always tries to make me laugh. So we do this on Skype or, some kind of video chat format. And he always, when I'm trying to make a point or getting long-winded, he'll go out of the frame. And you really have to kind of see it to understand it, but it makes me laugh every time. And Glenn's trying to hold it together and keep us on rails, and he's just making me laugh harder.
So what you're saying is, since I can't make you laugh, that's not going to be a problem.
You can make me laugh. You just are more professional. I don't know.
I'll take it. I'm concerned about the level of antagonism for this episode. I don't know if there's going to be enough button pushing. I feel like the button pushing is an integral part of the GamerCast experience.
I'll see what I can do. I'll try and argue with you.
Try and push your own buttons?
Yeah. Whatever you say, I'll say the opposite.
Good stuff. Okay. Yeah, we'll work on that. What's your housekeeping for this week? Talk to us a little bit about what's going on. Housekeeping.
I don't have a housekeeper.
Galaxy Far, Far Away. Star Wars stuff.
Oh, did you hear R2?
I did hear R2. It's like he knew.
Yeah, I just recorded another episode with Josh. We dug into a bit of Ray's vision, which is a really cool part in the film that's open for interpretation. But yeah, man, that flew by really well. And we're looking at having guests for future episodes as well. So there's going to be possibly 3 of us. And R2 won't shut up over there. Bands are going good. 2 bands are going good. We're practicing, rehearsing, kicking our butts. What else?
When's your first Rocket Queen gig?
We don't have one yet. We're doing not a video shoot, but a promo shoot, because when you're in a tribute band, Glenn, as you know, when you're trying to get gigs for tribute bands, you have to send in video because they want to see that you can
actually
sound like them and play the part. Yeah, where I'm the drummer. I don't have to dress up, which is okay.
Did you guys do that audition you were talking about a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah. We haven't heard back yet. So.
No? How'd it go, though?
No. It went good.
Cool.
So, yeah.
I understand there might be some new stuff going on with your Kylo Ren activities.
Yeah, I got what do you call it, a gig? No, I'm just hanging out at the last video store on the planet, which is Jumbo Video.
Somehow has survived the video store apocalypse.
It's a trip, man. Yeah.
It's pretty cool that it's still there. That's kind of been like a London landmark for, as long as I've been here.
Yeah. So our good buddy Will put me in touch with Jake, who's the manager there, and he was interested in buying some Nintendo Quest DVDs to rent out.
Nice.
So I went down there and we started talking about Star Wars, and he asked if I knew anyone who would want to come down and celebrate, and I'm like, heck yeah, I know a bunch of us. And so I sent him the pictures of me at the one shoot we did, and he just loved it. So I'm going to be walking around with a little temper tantrum all day. It's going to be fun.
Fantastic. Did I hear something about you getting a battle-damaged set of Kylo Ren robes?
Yeah, they are in production. I think they're like 99.9% done. Mildred Strange, who created my first one, has also created this one. And I swear to God, I feel sorry for her because this character is going to haunt her for the rest of her life. And we were talking earlier in the week, and I said, it's going to be funny in episode 8 and 9 what his outfit looks like then. He's going to be making a couple more of those.
So are you actually going to do the clean-shaven Bartlon Kylo
Yeah,
Ren
I'm going to
cosplay?
shave my beard, but I'm not going to cut my hair. Because his hair is kind of medium length.
Yeah, it's kind of like shaggy and medium, yeah.
I'm not going to cut my hair, but yeah, I get to do a big scar across my face, and there's lightsaber wounds, and there's a big bowcaster wound in my gut, and gushing with blood. It's going to be awesome.
Super cool.
What's new with you, buddy?
What's new with me?
Yeah.
What is new with me?
Tiny Titan. I heard...
I've spent I spent 12 hours this weekend trying to finish Witcher 3 thinking I was almost done, and apparently was not.
Are you still playing that?
I'm still playing it. It refuses to end.
How many different sets of breasts are actually in that game?
I'm pretty sure there's only one.
Really?
And it's just applied to all female characters.
Oh, it's the same model?
It seems like it to me,
okay. Yeah. I remember playing Witcher 2 on 360, and within 10 minutes I saw boobs. I was like, it's going to be a good game.
That sounds like a Witcher game, yeah.
It's going to be a good game.
Yeah.
I saw Jeff, our good buddy Jeff from Tiny Titan. He posted something about starting development on a new game. I know you probably can't say anything about that, but that's exciting news.
Yeah, that's an idea he's been kicking around for, a few weeks at least now. And he and one of the artists kind of just decided to break it off on Friday and just see if they could make some progress on doing a prototype for it. And I got a chance to play what they did very early, and I got to say, like, if the reaction in the office was any, kind of gauge of that, we might be onto something there. That was it's pretty fun.
Awesome.
Just something simple and something kind of cool and fun to play and quick and not terribly involved. But I'm looking forward to seeing how it comes together because it's pretty fun already.
Cool.
So there's that, and still doing updates for Dash Quest and just looking at trying to find some cool stuff for people to do every day when they play the game. And that is what inspired the topic for this week.
Good segue. Which is
Did you like that?
Yeah, I did.
Rob usually gets in the way of those. That was beautiful. I'm really impressed. So I am tentatively calling this episode the Loot Loop. And what I want to talk about are those little gimmicks in games that we play that make us want to keep doing it repeatedly or coming back every day or coming back every week and playing the game. Those little gameplay hooks that are sort of designed to get us to stick around. And kind of what the science is behind that and the theory behind that and just what some of our favorite examples of it are. And I thought that would be a really good chance for you to talk a little bit more about a certain Star Wars game that you spent some time talking about.
Yeah.
Last episode as well. So the first thing I wanted to ask you is, when I say the phrase loot loop, that's something that I've seen in game reviews before and on blog posts. What does that phrase mean to you? What does that describe to you?
Grinding to get gear to get to that next part, only to basically have to start again because then you need to get the higher gear to get even further. I would say it usually applies to games that give you some sort of time limit. You can only play the game for so long in a day before you either have to purchase more time with real money or you just basically have to put it down and wait till tomorrow. So you're constantly coming back, grinding for loop. There's some addictive quality to it. I've played many games like that over the years. So
I was looking at a description of that loot loop as something called a compulsion loop, where it's compelling you to do something repeatedly for some sort of reward. And then in game design, there's something we talk about being the core loop as well. What are the differences between those two things in your mind? Like when I say something like core loop versus compulsion loop, what do you think the difference is there?
compulsion maybe being that you're addicted to doing it. Core being it's just a mechanic to finish the game.
I think that's not unfair. The core loop is really what you're looking at. If you're breaking down your gameplay to like the most basic level, this is sort of that repeatable sort of loop that you're sending a player in, right?
Right.
So if you were looking at something like World of Warcraft and you were trying to break down the core loop as something like WoW, it could be something like, get quest, kill enemies, get stuff, repeat.
Repeat, yeah.
Compulsion tends to be, I think to me, is more about the reward. So it's more about, I'm doing this specifically because it's going to get me a reward, and it's going to be something where the reward's going to vary. Maybe what you have to do to get the reward at a given time that you're trying to do it is different every time. So maybe this time it's kill 10 enemies, this time it's kill 20 enemies, this time it's do this.
Right.
And I think that's sort of the difference there for me.
What would be, if I may, an early example for you of a game you played that kind of got its hooks into you like that? I know the big one. I know the two big ones that you're into, but what was the first one you could think of?
I'm trying to think of the first game that I felt like I compulsively had to play. It might be Tetris. It honestly might be.
So what was the reward then? Just your higher score?
I think that was it, yeah. It was really just... I think one of the beautiful things about Tetris is while there is an element of chance to it, if you fail at Tetris, if you lose a game at Tetris, you never feel it's because the game beat you. You feel like it's because you just weren't good enough. And for me, it was always compelling to go back and just try to be better every time I played it.
Right.
And it was one of those things where it's like almost mentally I kind of set a certain standard for myself where I was like, okay, if this is going to be like a semi-decent game of Tetris, I need to hit this score, or I need to get to this level, or I need to get to this many lines. And if I didn't get to that point, I was kind of disappointed in myself and would start over again or whatever. But that's one of the first games I can remember really being compulsively played, to just play over and over again, even though I was really kind of doing the same thing.
Right.
What were you thinking of? What's in mind for you?
World of Warcraft. Yeah, I think was my first. Although I did play Phantasy Star Online for Dreamcast, but that was something that my friend Darren and I played, and I didn't understand why he kept doing the same dungeons over and over again to get better gear. It didn't make sense. But once I played World of Warcraft, and there was almost that kind of status attached to it, because someone would check out your gear and be like, "Oh man, where did you get that legendary whatever?" So you had to do that dungeon to get that. So it's like a status thing too. You want people to see that you've gone that far. And I just remember being totally addicted, especially when I understood the color coding and how rare the drops were. And
yeah, I think it's one of the elements of that concept that online games have really taken advantage of, is there's that element of the bragging, right? Being able to kind of show off something cool that you have that your friends might not have yet. And having something that's desirable that they're going to want to go and get. Because in early games, if it's offline, that's obviously a non-issue, right? Like, you beat Mega Man 2, but I mean, there's not any sort of social aspect to it where it's like,
yeah, I know exactly.
You're throwing down with your friends, or you're kind of competing against them or anything like that. It's almost taking, the competition aspect of something like a fighting game and then applying it to sort of a grander social framework, I guess.
It was weird because then, Bethesda brought out Oblivion and Skyrim and those single player, basically offline MMOs, and I remember just trying to play them, and you saw like whatever level horse you can buy for $5 online, or set of armor or something. It's like, and my first thought was, why? Like, who's gonna see it but me? So that status thing was like right off the bat. It made me not like those games actually too, which is weird because the online aspect wasn't there.
What were the two examples that you were thinking of for me when you asked me that question?
WoW.
WoW would be one,
and Destiny.
And Destiny.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about MMOs specifically, and grind, repeat, probably Final Fantasy 11. Final Fantasy 11 was my first MMO experience.
Yeah.
And that was a hardcore MMO, right? Like, that was an MMO that you really weren't able to solo, and you had to have a group, and that was like old school, right? Where you had your group and you had somebody go out and they pulled enemies and they brought it back to the group, and you were somewhere kind of safe where you weren't going to get attacked by something else. And the whole group took down a single enemy, and if you weren't playing in that sort of setup, you really weren't going to make it very far.
Yeah, I never said that one only because you were required to have people with you. You couldn't do very much past level 11 or 12.
I was going to say, I think it was like 10, 12.
Yeah.
You could kind of grind out on your own.
So it was there, but it was very much dependent on whoever you were playing with at the time, where WoW is very dangerous because, well, you couldn't get the best gear in the game by playing solo. You could certainly get a lot of epic loot.
Yeah, you could get to level cap and get some decent loot without ever setting foot in a group.
And then there was the PvP that they introduced, so you could go into these blind matches and fight people you never met before or whatever, and still get like epic gear from that.
Yeah, there's some people who do that exclusively.
As soon as they started introducing that, like where you could do basically the solo play, it was over. I was just hooked.
There's a quote from a former Bungie employee that's become kind of famous over the years, where he was talking about Bungie's design philosophy when it came to the Halo games. And there's this famous quote from him about that 30 seconds of fun aspect of the thing. I don't know if you've ever heard that before.
No.
It's kind of become regarded as Bungie's design philosophy, but what he was really talking about is trying to find those small, repeatable sort of loops of the same activity that you can put variables on and put people in different circumstances, and they always get that kind of 30 seconds of satisfaction out of doing that kind of repeatable activity over again, right? So if you looked at a single enemy encounter in Halo, as being a 30-second loop where it's like, okay, I engage these guys and the AI does this and I do this and then I kill them and fight's over kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's sort of what it's applying to. How do you see that? You've obviously played a few Halo games and you've made no secret of being a fan of the early Halo games in the series, but how do you see that applying to the sort of output that Bungie makes?
Well, in every one of those games, there's always that one part. I think this is the first Halo or the second one. You're on the bridge with the tank.
That's the first one, yeah.
And you just get to blow the crap out of everything until the tank won't get into the cave because it's too big and it forces you to get out. And that part is about a minute long. But I always wished, there's those long parts, especially in the first one, where you're just walking and there's nothing there. And you're like, man, I wish I was back in that tank doing that little part. Or the first time you get into was it called a ghost? Was the bike called a ghost? I think it was.
There's
Ghost and the Banshee.
Yeah, there's the Warthog, which is like the four-wheeled
it's been a while.
vehicle. There's the Mongoose in the later games, which is like the ATV. There's the Ghost is the
it's the bike, the purple
is the Covenant like purple, like jet bike thing.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's what I think of as the tank part.
I'm thinking of the hate mail I'm going to get from Josh because we did such a crap job of explaining Halo.
Josh, I apologize, but I fell off the Halo wagon after 3.
Yeah,
I was done.
He has most certainly not fallen off the Halo.
Oh, I know. We were talking about it the other day. He loves 5, like addicted online.
That's something that I think is really compelling about Destiny to me too. And I think I feel like I've touched on this on the show before, but any given encounter in Destiny, when you're out in the world doing something, you're doing bounties or you're grinding away or whatever, the gunplay feels so good and it's so well tuned in that couple of seconds that you spend like headshotting a drag or fighting off like a group of like 4 or 5 of those guys. It's like, even though you're doing the same thing repeatedly, it always feels good. It always just seems to hit that spot at the base of my neck that makes me feel good about what I'm doing. And that's one of those things that can compel me to keep doing that stuff. So even though, when coming on every day and I'm getting bounties and those bounties will vary from day to day, I still feel good about doing that stuff because that root gameplay element.
Yeah.
That just having that gun and firing that gun and interacting with the enemy that way just feels so good. We've talked about the melee attacks before too, how all the melee attacks in the game just feel badass. They feel really, really good to do.
Yeah, you can really feel the attack or the hit. Yeah.
And I think on top of that, when you give the guns as much character as you have, you made the gunplay feel so good, and then you give your players all these awesome, fun weapons with neat names and fun flavor text that do neat things. It is a compelling formula, and I think that's part of the reason why I kept coming back to it for as long as I did. And it's definitely been a few weeks since I've had a chance to play because I've been neck deep in Witcher. But
I can see exactly what you mean because I remember not too far into the Destiny life for me, the dailies got really repetitive. It's like, okay, but just the act of doing them was so fun that you kind of, like you said, you kind of just didn't care.
Yeah, and it's like you've got the daily story missions, so for me it was nice to just go and take 5 or 10 minutes and be able to knock that off every day and go, okay, cool, I got something done. I can't play any longer than this, but now I can go do something else.
And everything you do in Destiny, you're working towards something greater.
And once a week you can get 2 of your buddies together and you're on the Nightfall and maybe you get a cool piece of gear and maybe you don't, but you have that chance to get that cool piece of gear, and that's enough to make you want to make time, 20 minutes or whatever it is to run through that with somebody.
And everyone has that gun or that armor piece that they're trying to get. And when it finally drops, it really is like a celebration. It's crazy. Because you've worked so hard, you've put so much time, and you've ground out so many hours that when you finally get it, it's just...
Did you ever see any of Josh's streams when he was trying to get his Vex Mythoclast from Vault of Glass?
No.
That was such an ordeal for him. Like, that was like a several-month task of trying to get that gun.
Is it one of those cases where everyone is getting it but him?
There were a lot of us who got it but him. I think on my 3rd or 4th vault run with him, I got a Vex that dropped for me off of Atheon. And then I remember going in, I really wanted a Vision of Confluence, and I kind of set out to take a couple of groups in to do it. And it's like the first time we ran it, I had 2 drop off of Atheon.
Crazy.
So we had the exact same gun. So I had pretty good luck with that game. I had a Yallarhorn relatively early on too. I got rid of a Nightfall, and I had a lot of friends who were still running around without those things while I had one, and that thing was obviously the best gun in the game for a very, very long time. But yeah, I remember seeing Josh's stream when he finally had his Vex drop and just his reaction. Mm-hmm. And like, he didn't get overly emotional, but I mean, you could see that there was like almost like a relief and this really kind of deep satisfaction that he finally got it, right? And I'll tell you, it wouldn't have meant nearly as much if those things were dropping at a dime a dozen.
No, exactly. And the time that you personally put into it out of your own life, that, you know, when you finally get it, the payoff is just, no one will understand, you know, unless you've been there, unless you've downed that boss in WoW that takes, 25 people to work together to take down. And when you finally do that, you're just in there for hours, and then that one piece of gear that you need drops. It really feels like a paycheck. It's like you really feel like I just
really
got paid.
It sounds hilarious, but it's true.
Yeah.
It really is true. That's wow. And I've had that experience in Destiny myself very recently. That actually is a nice segue to the next question I was going to ask, and that's what I just, without trying to get too gimmicky, what are some of the specific design tricks that you can think of the games have used to kind of get you to come back every day or every week or continuing to play over a period of time? And I think what's appropriate about this is we sort of talked about one already, and that's that delayed gratification thing, right?
The time thing?
Yeah, you know that if, in reference to Destiny, more so than like the time period thing, you know that if you run a Nightfall every week, you theoretically have a chance to use Yallarhorn as an example. Mm-hmm. You know you have a chance to have that gun drop. It might be a really, really, really small chance, but you know you have a chance to do it. And you might keep failing to get that over the course of several weeks, but there is that chance you might get it that one time, right? Or you're in a group with somebody who does. And then you're like, oh, well, I could get this to drop. And I think that's really important, right? Because even though you know the chances of you getting it might be really, 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 really small, the fact that there is a chance is enough to compel you to keep trying it. So I think that's a very, very important kind of quirk. And it's kind of the same thing with engrams, right? You have all these engrams drop out in the world, and you don't know what that loot's going to be until you take it to the tower and you get it decoded. It might be a really good gun. It might be a not so great gun. If it's a purple, at this point you know it's going to be a legendary piece of gear, but you also know you have the chance that it might be an exotic.
So do you like the lottery aspect of these games? Destiny specifically, I guess I'd be talking about.
I think the lottery aspect is really part of the appeal.
Or even, when you beat a boss and you don't know what piece of gear is going to drop, if any, for your class.
And they've added that in with that 3 of Coins thing they have now too, right? I don't know if you've played since they introduced 3 of Coins. I think that came in Taken King. There's a thing you can buy from Xur now called a 3 of Coins. And they cost, I think, 7 exotic or 7 strange coins to buy from him every week. And what it is you pop that, and when you fight a boss next, so anything that's considered an elite and it has that special health bar, that increases the chance that boss will drop an exotic. And they'll stack, so you can pop more than one, and for each one you pop, it'll give you a greater chance that it drops an exotic. And for each one you use and you don't get an exotic, your chance goes up that you will get one the next time you use one. So that's even become an element of it now too, where you can potentially get a guaranteed exotic out of a boss if you're using this potential item. So there's a bit of a dice roll going on there.
Which you have to grind strange coins to get anyway. So you're still putting in...
It's still that feedback loop, right? Yeah. So, but to me, I think the lottery aspect is really something that appeals to me in Destiny. I like that element of surprise. And as much as it's disappointment sometimes, especially if you've been playing the game for a long time, you're like, oh, great, I got another one of these. I got yet another piece of a set of boots for this armor set or whatever.
Yeah.
There is that element of every once in a while you get surprised and you get something legitimately really, really cool. And for somebody who's really hardcore into the game, it's not just enough to have a specific gun or a specific armor set, because you have different stats on everything, right? So even if I have a certain exotic helmet that I really like, Xur might sell it the next week and it might have totally different stats on it than the one I've got. And depending on how I play the game, that might actually be better for me.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe it has a higher intellect rating than a strength rating. And
Right.
for me, the intellect rating is really, really appealing because of how I play my character, right? And it's the same thing with guns. So if you get a sniper rifle like 1,000-yard stare, you can get rolls on that gun that are like godly, and then you can get other ones that are like okay. And it's a really, really good gun any way you slice it. But you're always going to be in the back of your mind aiming to get that really awesome roll that you want. Maybe I want to have that sniper and I want it to have Firefly and explosive rounds on it or something like that, right? So there's always that chance that even if I get another one, I get one that's going to have those stats on it. And that is something that I think keeps me going on that stuff.
Have you ever been with a group and they wanted to raid that night or whatnot, and you didn't really feel like it, but you kind of felt almost pressured into it because if you didn't go, there's a chance that your item might drop and you won't get it. You ever had that? I had that in WoW all the time. If I didn't run something with my guild, I would hear the next day, oh yeah, the warlock whatever dropped. I'm like, son of a,
Yeah, I've definitely had that experience where I haven't gone along on a raid or something and somebody got a really good drop and you're kind of almost like, crap, that could have been my drop.
Yeah.
So I've definitely had that experience.
There was the times when we were playing the Vault of Glass and it was like 2 a.m. and everyone is like on their last legs falling asleep. And I wanted to drop. I'm like, I got to go to bed. And it's like, no, you can't because we're going to take out the boss and you're going to miss your drop.
So one of the things that I've seen games do to keep us coming back over and over again, or to keep playing the game after we've beaten it, maybe, for example, is collectibles. Right? That's a huge thing, especially in open world games. There's collectibles or little missions to knock off, that kind of thing. What is the coolest thing that a game has ever had you collect? What's the most memorable or fun thing you've ever had to collect in a video game?
I think it would have probably been pieces of a key to get into one of the dungeons of WoW, but I can't remember what it is. When it was Upper or Lower Blackrock Spire, you had to go on this epic quest that took months to do in order to get the pieces to put this key together. And you couldn't even get in the dungeon unless your character had that key. So that was such a sense of accomplishment when that finally happened. When you finally had that piece, you knew that you work towards something and you're doing something that not everyone can do. And that sounds strange because it's a game, but it was really hard work to do that.
The thing that comes to mind for me when I think about collectibles that were fun in a game, and this is funny because this doesn't go for everything in the game, but in Assassin's Creed Black Flag, you can collect like sheet music.
Okay.
For like songs, and I can't remember if you played it or not, but
very little.
When you're sailing around on your ship, your crew will actually just spontaneously break into song, right? And you'll have this whole crew of guys like singing these sea shanties and like sailing tunes, right?
Right.
You can collect these songs in the game that actually will then turn into songs that your crew sings.
Oh, that's cool.
And I think that's what was cool about it to me, because instead of just going, well, okay, you found all of the Animus fragments and you've got 70 of 80 or whatever. Instead of it just being like you've got so many of a certain number, there was a tangible reward for that in-game.
That's very cool.
And that my sailing got to be a little bit more interesting because I didn't know what song they might sing, and it might be something totally different.
Awesome.
And I think that was kind of a cool twist on that collectible. What's the thing you've worked hardest for in a game and actually gotten that gave you the most feeling of accomplishment? Would it be that key you were talking about? Or for me, I think it was probably a flying mount.
Yeah,
I remember that being a really, really big deal at the time.
I mean, I hate that we keep talking about two games, really, but
there's plenty of good examples.
It was doing a flying mount, or was getting a very specific mount, like the one that dropped in, I think it was Strathholm. It was Baron Rivendare. I don't know his name, something like that. But it was the dead skeletal horse mount with the different colored flames, and it was like a 0.5% drop off this boss that it took you an hour to get to. 0.5%. Just insane, the drop rate. Yeah, getting your flying mounts in WoW. Getting the Nether Drake mounts in Burning Crusade. Doing the 6 or 7 dailies every day. getting the eggs, wrangling the dragons, that kind of thing. For months, man. Months. Just to see that experience reputation bar go up a little bit each day.
Yep.
Crazy.
What is the worst thing a game has ever had you collect?
It's almost the same. The Nether Drake quest was almost torturous because the rate in which you advanced was so slow. You could actually sit there and say, okay, in 3 months, in 4 weeks, I'll have this dragon. Because you could measure it by, the amount of experience you were getting for each daily quest, and it was just ridiculous. So
it was sort of like the reality of actually being okay with doing that.
Yeah, because I
Is
would
that
get
really
up.
what it was? Yeah.
I would get up, and all of us were doing it, grind these dailies out, and it was like, it was like a part of your routine. It was like, you would do it before work, or you would come back from work and do it, and it felt like a job. But then once you got it, again, man, it was like payday.
What were the things that keep you logging into a game like World of Warcraft? Like, what's the sort of stuff that keeps you coming back to that game every day? It's been a while since I played it.
I will say exactly how you feel about the combat in Destiny is the way I feel about the combat in that game. It's extremely satisfying. And just the sheer number of things that you can do in the game.
I feel this about Diablo a lot, and I have a feeling like this is sort of where it got to me with World of Warcraft as well, but I'm kind of curious about your opinion on it. Is there a point at which, when you were playing a game like that, you can almost sort of see the gears turning in the background? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's not really hidden behind the gameplay anymore. You almost kind of feel like you can see the mechanic behind it. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if so, like, what's the point at which that happens for you? Like, you can almost see the treadmill you're running on, in spite of the game being in front of you.
I don't want to sound boring, but it was the same Nether Drake quest where I could actually calculate the numbers and then how much time and how high this number would go before I actually got them out. So yeah, it was like mechanical. It was like doing these daily quests and not even thinking about it. It's just like half asleep, waking up, and just doing it like a zombie.
I think for me with World of Warcraft, it was definitely the end game part. Like, as soon as I'd actually gotten the level cap, and the game really just became about things like raiding or
It's all about gear.
grinding reputation,
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff, that the wheels really started to kind of come off for me, and that was the point where I was kind of okay letting it go. Because at that point it was like, okay, I'm going to spend all this time getting this gear, and then that gear is going to become irrelevant the next time they release an update.
Right, but would you not say Destiny is the same?
It's very much the same, yeah. And that's an example, but I mean, I think at some point that's a reality that sinks in with every game like that. And I feel the same way about Diablo, right? Like, when I play Diablo, I tend to play it in, there'll be a burst of like maybe a week or 2 weeks where I play it really, really, really frequently, and then at some point I realize I'm just clicking a button or pushing a button, and that's all I'm doing.
That's why I think a lot of these, what are they called, freemium games? And I want to say, like, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, it's so appealing, one, because it's on your phone and tablet, so you can take it with you, quickly log on each day, and do your whatever you got to do, and then just put it away. You're not required to be stationary and sit there. So it almost feels like you're not really wasting your time, because you're doing it on the bus, or you're doing it on your break, your lunch break, or whatever. You're not taking time out of your actual day. Does that make sense?
I think I get that, yeah. It's almost sort of a supplement to whatever else you're doing.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm on my break at work, so it's okay anyway, right?
So let's talk about Galaxy of Heroes a little bit, Jay. I still haven't had a chance to check this out. I think Rob made it downloaded. I feel like...
Yeah, he's getting up there, and you got to play it, damn it.
So what are the things about Galaxy of Heroes that encourage you to come back every day and play it?
So again, it's a turn-based combat like Final Fantasy style. The sheer number of different characters that you can acquire and earn to be on your team, and the sheer number of obscure different characters. So you have the same class as you would in any traditional game. You have a tank, a healer, DPS. Fair enough? But, you have your typical tank-like characters like Chewbacca. But it won't be Chewbacca. It'll be Revenge of the Sith Chewbacca. Or instead of just being Han Solo, it'll be Stormtrooper Han from A New Hope. Just the weird, obscure characters like that. And it takes X number of shards, which is like currency, for that character to unlock that character. So most AAA guys are worth about 80 shards. And it's very, very difficult to do that. It takes a lot of grinding. Or you can buy the special packs that pop up once in a while with real money, and that's where they sucker you in. That's where they got me.
Yeah, how much money have you spent in the game?
Did I already confess this last time?
I
don't want to say this in front of people that are watching. The Force Awakens
too
bundle
much.
came up, and to get Kylo Ren was $140. So yeah, I dropped that.
Wow.
But if you figure a new release game's $79, and I bought the season pass, I don't know how I justify it to myself.
New release Kylo. So this is touching on the next subject I want to ask. Mobile games obviously try to come up with all kinds of different ways to get people to come back on a daily basis, repeatedly, multiple days in a row. What are some of the other design takes you've seen on that? So you mentioned energy in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes being one way to do it, where you're limiting the time.
Yeah, you have like 80 energy a day, and a battle will be 6 energy. So you really have to pick and choose where you want to go and what kind of gear you're trying to grind out. They do a very good job of getting you to log on every day. But in the month of March, you can get the Magma Trooper, Stormtrooper, which is the Stormtrooper with the gas mask thing from Battlefront.
Mm-hmm.
You can get him, but you have to log on every single day. And if you do that, you'll get enough shards to unlock this character, which you can't get anywhere else. It's so smart.
Is there any other benefit to coming back every day beyond like getting that if you log in every day for the month?
There's like 3 or 4 different currencies that you can use in the game to spend on leveling your guy up, gear, etc., etc. Yeah, it's one thing leads to the next, which leads to the next, which leads to the next.
When a company is designing something to be used as daily content like that, like what do you, in your mind, what are the important characteristics for that content to have? What does that content need to do?
If you're going to be playing a game on a mobile device, you want it to be quick and painless. You want to have a sense of satisfaction. You want the rewards to be there. And it does a really good job of... It's very difficult to get these characters, but it's, again, like World of Warcraft and Destiny and everything else like that. It's so rewarding when you unlock them. And it's just one of those games that you can play for years and years and not have everything unlocked. And, I mean, of course, it's free. It's a free game. So there's the appeal right there. Oh, yeah, you can just play it. You can get all these characters for free. It's just going to take you time. Or when these special bundle packs pop up for real money, you can... do that, and time is money kind of thing.
We touched on this a little bit already when we were talking about Destiny and my feelings on it, but do you feel like there being some mystery in a given reward is something that compels you to go after it? Like, how do you feel about that aspect of something being hidden or kind of uncertain?
It's very addicting, like the loot drops in Destiny. It's very addicting. I personally am the sure thing. Like with the Force Awakens bundle, I would rather spend X amount of dollars knowing this is exactly what I'm going to get instead of every day hoping this one thing will drop, and it never does, because I would get really frustrated.
Yeah, I think it's almost that, like, to me, it's almost like the appeal of playing a slot machine, right?
Yeah, and I'm not a gambler.
It's like you put that quarter in and hope that...
It's like what you said about Destiny, how they have those items now that can increase your percentage on exotic drops. They put those in there for a reason, right? Same thing.
They want you to buy them and use them.
Yep.
And then grind the currency to get them again, right? I'm trying to think of how to phrase this one. Have you ever completed a game completely? So have you ever gotten 100% of the achievements or every single item in a game or every single collectible in a game? You ever had that experience?
Fallout 3.
Yeah, you got every single thing.
Everything. Yeah, I played it multiple times, multiple different ways.
Why have you had that experience in that game, but not something else?
Oh, I know you're not a huge fan of that title, but for me,
and it's not about Fallout 3.
Yeah,
I'm just curious as to Why?
It was just a world that I really wanted to be a part of, and I really felt like I was in it when I was playing, and it was just, I didn't want the game to end, which is why I think MMOs are so great and addicting. But Fallout eventually does end. There's a point where you can't do anything, and you become so powerful you just destroy everything anyway. But I think I just kept doing it because I loved it so much. I loved it so much.
I think the first game I ever got 100% everything on, in terms of achievements and collectibles and everything.
Oh, can I guess?
Yeah, go ahead.
Super Metroid?
Oh, you know what? That probably is.
all the missile containers, all the
probably
life containers.
Probably was. I definitely did it with Metroid Prime as well. But the game I was actually thinking about was Assassin's Creed 2.
Right.
I got every single thing in that game. And I think what was interesting about that is the achievements in that game were so well integrated into the gameplay that what happened is I was getting towards the end of the game, and I just sort of realized that I had almost all the achievements. I forget how many achievements are in the game. Let's say there were 50. It's like I looked at the achievement list one day and realized I had like 44.
Oh, no,
without even
so
really
close.
trying, and it's kind of like, well, okay, wow, what would it take to get the other 6?
Yeah.
And that's part of why I sort of just, grinded them out and did the rest of them. Now, the thing that's interesting about that to me is I've never felt compelled to do that in another Assassin's Creed game. And I almost feel like with the newer Assassin's Creed games, there's just way too much stuff. Like, there's just so much garbage you can do that doesn't have anything to do with the main game. And a lot of it I just don't have any interest in.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing something similar in Witcher 3. So Witcher 3, there's a card game you can play. It's like a collectible card game you can play within the game called Gwent.
Right.
And I haven't touched it. It's the one thing in the game I literally have not done anything with. Like, I haven't done any of the quests around it. I haven't played a single game of cards with anybody. It's just because I don't have any interest in doing it. It might be super fun for all I know, but I just don't have any interest in doing it. And the other would be races. So there's some quests built around races. And there's a couple of instances in the game where you have to run a race. And it's not like, it's not super important if you win them or lose them or whatever. But there's a bunch of race quests, and it's kind of like, nope. No.
Yeah.
Like, zero interest in doing that. And I'm just kind of curious about exploring now. Like, what are the things that make you want to do all that stuff in one game, but maybe not another? And for me, it's a situation where even games in the same series that conceivably have very, very similar collectibles that way, I don't feel compelled to do it in every single one. And I don't really know why that is, and I guess that's why I'm kind of curious to ask it.
I think maybe because it is so much work to 100% complete a game, it takes a lot of effort, and especially for some of these achievements, they're really crazy to get. So I think, you and I were just like, okay, we've done that once. You know what that feels like. And I don't know, the Assassin's Creed games are all very similar to me. They all look the same. They all play the same. You just feel like you're kind of just doing the same things over and over again. I don't know. I think me personally, I've done it once, so I'm good. I only think I have only 3 Xbox games that have all the achievements. But
Cool. Okay. Well, I think we're going to begin the transition to Patreon. I got a couple of things I want to talk about, a little bit more on this subject, and then a couple of other questions I wanted to ask as well. So, for anybody who's a Patreon listener, stick around. Travel down the warp pipe with us. We'll see you on the other side. Thank you very much for joining us once again. We appreciate you hanging around with us. Hopefully you didn't miss Rob too much. For me, Glenn Stanway, your editor, and for my co-host, Jay Bartlett.
all I have to say is goodbye for now.
That's all we can say. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody, and we'll talk to you again very, very, very soon.